Good afternoon, everyone. We were asked yesterday an interesting question regarding the ingredient citric acid, which is used to add tartness to all kinds of soft drinks and foods. Question is it allowed to use these products on Pesach because citric acid is derived from wheat? It comes from wheat, and therefore, obviously, the question is maybe this wheat is chametz, so therefore we shouldn't use these products on Pesach. So the truth is that we find Moreno Rabbeinu Alav Shalom Maran Ovadia, he has two chuvot, two responses regarding this issue. One in Yebi Omer, which is in Chelek Yud, the 10th portion, 10th volume, and also in Yechavedat in the 2nd volume. He writes over there some interesting things about this. First of all, we have to understand one thing, that how this product is made. So what happens is that they take the some kind of a glucose which comes from the wheat, and they mix it in with all kinds of ingredients, and they make some kind of a chemical process that goes on there. So during that chemical process, it undergoes a change, alteration. It becomes unedible at a certain time. It becomes some kind of like a rocky kind of thing, like a salt, whatever, and it's not edible. And also, another thing which we have to point out is that it's a small minority of the whole product that you're eating. So therefore, right, the rule of Batal Bashishim, being nullified at 60, is also working here. So basically what happens is, right, that the Rabbi Al-Shalom Maran, he writes over there several reasons why this is allowed to use products like this. One is that it's a small minority, and therefore it gets nullified in the 60th of the whole mixture of the food, whatever it is. Besides that, there's also another issue, which is that this product is chemically altered, and therefore, whatever it was before, it is not now. It's something else. And we have Rabbeinu Yonah who writes regarding that something which changes its form, it becomes a different substance. It used to be this, and now it's something else. It's called something else. It looks like something else. It tastes like something else. It was altered, this product. So once it gets altered, panim chadashot ba'olakan. It's something really new product. It's a new invention. So therefore, what happens is that it doesn't have the designation of the old products at this point. That's one idea. Another is also that it's rendered unedible because it becomes like some kind of like a rocky, salty kind of substance, this citric acid in the production. So therefore, it's unedible. Even a dog wouldn't come and eat this thing. So therefore, we have several reasons why it's allowed. Number one is because it gets nullified in 60th. Number two, because it gets altered chemically. Number three, it's also rendered unedible because of this alteration. So due to these three reasons, the Rabbi Al-Shalom Maran, he writes over there that it's allowed to use this ingredient in all these types of soft drinks and foods. What does that mean? That once it was made by the factory, and of course it was made before Pesach, that's the idea, because when it's made before Pesach, it does get nullified. If it was made during Pesach, that would be more problematic. We won't want to use something like that. So therefore the Rabbi says, L'chatchila, they shouldn't put this ingredient, right? It's better not to put this ingredient in these foods. But once they do it, and they've done it before Pesach, now we as consumers are allowed to use that because it was already done. Whatever was done was done. It got nullified. It got rendered unedible. It went through an alteration. So an interesting question arises though regarding this issue, right? Which is what that we've seen. The Shulchan Aruch, he brings down in the laws of Pesach that if a certain food, not really a food, but a certain kind of a substance was mixed with chametz, and it was made from chametz, this thing. So what happens is, right, that it's made from chametz, but it's rendered not edible because of the mixture that was made there. So whatever, so there was some kind of mixture made, and it was rendered not edible. So what happens is, it says the Shulchan Aruch, even though this mixture now is not edible, and therefore, right, he says it's allowed to keep that on Pesach. You don't have to sell it or get rid of it. But nevertheless, he says the Shulchan Aruch over there that you're not allowed to eat it. Why is that? So it explains the Taz over there, right? The reason you're not allowed to eat this thing is because achsheve, right? There's a concept like this called achsheve. What does that mean? Even though this thing is not really called a food and it's not really edible, but the fact that you eat it, you're rendering it edible according to your judgment. So therefore, Now you made it into an edible substance by your decision to eat it. So this is, by the way, rabbinical prohibition. It's not from the Torah. The rabbis brought this prohibition. That's what the Achronim write, that it's a rabbinical. So the rabbi said, even though this is not really chametz and it's not edible, but you, by eating it, render it edible. And this brought down also in the Mishnah Berurah, this concept brought down in several Achronim, this issue of achsheveh. Even though not everybody agrees with this, by the way, the Pri Chadash doesn't agree with this concept of the Shulchan Aruch of achsheveh. What does that mean? That according to Pri Chadash and also several other Achronim, they hold that even though you ate it, since it's not edible, this thing, and people don't eat it, so therefore by you eating it, you didn't render it into edible. No such a thing like this. So there is actually a dispute regarding that. But nevertheless, even if we say, right, that we should go like the Shulchan Aruch who says, and the Achronim who say, right, that actually it's not allowed to eat this substance, nevertheless, here though, we still have a way to circumvent this problem. What's the way to circumvent the problem? We say, right, that we find in the Nodav Yehuda, and also in the Chazon Ish, and also we find in the Achi Ezer, we find that they write that in this case, the issue of achsheveh doesn't apply. Meaning what? Rendering it edible by your decision to eat it. Doesn't apply over here. Why doesn't it apply? Because that would only apply in a case where that mixture was made out of chametz itself. But here, what we're doing is we're adding that ingredient, citric acid, into another food. So meaning what? That this is some kind of additional thing there we're adding, but the food itself is not chametz. It doesn't really contain chametz. It's just that we're adding an ingredient which contains chametz, but the majority of that food is not a chametz food, right? So therefore, what they want to say, these rabbis that we just mentioned, is that since this is not the majority of the food that we're talking about, it's something additional that they put in there, right? So therefore, in a case like that, we don't say achsheveh. We don't say that he rendered it edible. Why is that? Why is that? Because it's not really the main ingredient of this food. It's not really the main idea over there. This is just something which is added on the side. Something very small, something minute. So therefore, in a case like this, there are several achronim, as we mentioned, who say that we don't use the concept of achsheveh over here. He rendered it edible by the fact that he ate it. So therefore, right, when it comes to citric acid, which is just a small part of the whole drink or the food that we're talking about, these products, so therefore we don't usually use the concept of achsheveh. So we have several reasons, as we mentioned, right, to allow the use of foods like this and drinks on Pesach. One is because it gets nullified into 16, and one is because it's rendered unedible. Number three, it's because it was altered chemically, the whole product. So therefore, because of all these reasons, we do say, right, that a person is allowed to use these types of drinks and foods which contain citric acid. Also, by the way, the truth is that the rabbi told us afterwards. He told us that nowadays citric acid is made also without wheat. It's made, in a laboratory also, right, in a different way, which is synthetic type of citric acid. So therefore, we're not even really sure that the citric acid that we're using contains chametz at all. It could be, right, that it's made synthetically in the lab. So because of all these reasons, a person can use this ingredient. And the rabbi says, Alav Shalom, over there, Maran, he writes in his response, as we mentioned, right, Yeb Yomer and Yechavadat, that even if this product doesn't really have like a hechsher, doesn't have any hechsher saying that it's kosher for Passover. Why is that? Because all these companies, right, OU and and OK and all these companies and the other companies as well, they will not give hechsher to something which contains this ingredient because they know that it could be from wheat. So therefore, they will not give a hechsher to it. But nevertheless, says the Rabbi Alav Shalom Maran, that you're allowed to buy and use this product on Pesach. Why is that? Because the reason why they don't give the hechsher is because of this ingredient, but this ingredient is kosher anyway for Passover. So therefore, even though it doesn't contain a hechsher, as long as everything which in there, in this product is not, there's no chametz there, there's no other problems, issues that arise from the ingredients in there. So therefore, a person is allowed to use it for Passover, even though it doesn't have kosher supervision. But anyway, a person should ask a rabbi to go over what's inside this food or this product to verify, right? Maybe there's also other ingredients over there which are problematic. But if there are not, so this ingredient, right, will not make a problem for us on Passover. Chazak u'baruch and Yom Tov.